What's up everybody? Today we're talking about the Horizon OS v77 update for the metaquest. This update introduces the new navigator interface layer and a wide range of quality of life changes. I've been using the update for a bit now, getting used to the new flow, and I can honestly say that it feels like Meta is finally listening to our cries to fix the UI within the headset. UI is very much an art, which makes it subjective. But at the same time, it has rules, so take everything I say in this video with a tiny pinch of salt, and if you disagree with anything I say, let me know down in the comment section below. Now let's go through everything that stood out, the good, the bad, and what's still missing. Let's start with the big one, the navigator. This is now the topmost interface layer and can be opened with a single tap of the meta button. It exists above both immersive experiences and 2D windows, creating a three-tiered hierarchy within the OS. Having this layered system, immersive experience, 2D window, navigator, makes it easier to compartmentalize. You're not being pulled out of what you're doing just to make a minor change. It's a slightly more layered, spatially coherent way to carry on the window-based system from 2D devices. What makes this work is the way the navigator doesn't interfere with the layers underneath it, but separates itself, allowing the users to solely focus on the navigator and essentially ignore whatever's behind it. 2D windows, for instance, now act like apps instead of being awkward system pop-ups. And immersive worlds aren't treated like games that hijack your headset, but like environments that can exist in tandem with those windows. It all adds up to a better system which requires less switching between levels of immersion and more floating between them as needed. Collapsed 2D windows now retain their spatial memory. That means you can set up your workspace, collapse it, and bring it back exactly how it was. All you need to do is double tap the home button. This feature, despite being pretty small in scope, gives ease of mind to the user. It allows the user to easily switch between using their windows and being immersed without worrying about having to set up their window arrangement all over again. Moving forward, the design principle of object permanence is hugely important, especially as we move towards more augmented reality solutions instead of solely VR. 2D apps in the background have also been better optimized. Listening to a YouTube podcast while messing around and Walkabout mini golf is much easier and works more reliably. That alone makes the OS feel more complete, but they also added little QuickTime control pop-ups for the media that's playing so that you can make simple adjustments like pausing and playing from within your immersive layer. Another forward-thinking feature is the option to select one 2D window to follow you through physical space. This is huge for practical use. I've wanted this for a while because it opens up hands-free functionality around the house. Also, as headsets get smaller and I wear them more, this style of window management becomes more desired. One example is, let's say you're cooking and you've got a recipe video running. Your hands are full and you're moving between the sink, counter, and oven. Now that window stays with you, there's no need to worry about having to drag the window around. As I mentioned earlier, Meta also added collapsible quick controls that stay hidden until you need them. Things like media control, microphone toggle, and camera are no longer buried in settings. They're accessible at a moment's notice without interrupting the experience. This also comes with a quick settings page overhaul within the navigator. Not much to say about it other than it's been moved out of the 2D window into the navigator itself and has all the settings you can see here on screen. I will say it's not customizable as of right now, which is a big issue for me, but fingers crossed that is destined to change in the future. There have also been large changes to the menu bloat. This is more of a personal taste type of update, but in general, I think they did good work. In the past, the library used a drop-down menu to switch between things like apps, worlds, and unknown sources. That drop-down has now been moved to a vertical menu on the left-hand side. It's one of those small changes that saves a lot of time over repeated use. One fewer click every time adds up really fast. I am a big advocate for less clicks in general. I use 3 monitors at home. I'm a big fan of screen real estate. If it doesn't need to be hidden, leave it up so that it can be accessed at any time. And VR is like the definition of unlimited screen real estate. Personally, I'd rather have menu systems that require me to turn my head slightly rather than requiring more clicks, but it's a personal taste, and I think it's an argument that's worth having. Along with improvements in the menu layout, responsiveness has also improved substantially. The entire OS feels more immediate, likely because of the backend reworks to support the new navigator. It's snappier, transitions are cleaner, and for the first time the joystick actually feels like the best way to get around the UI. Breaking down the 2D window layer a bit more, there's a new 3-part control system for 2D windows. The left button opens the navigator, the right button closes the 2D layer, and the middle white bar lets you move and resize the windows that are locked in the layout. It's straightforward and works reliably. It's not flashy, but when it comes to window management, consistency matters more. On top of the more rigid structure, you also have full freedom to place windows wherever you'd like within your physical space. This next feature is still experimental, but Meta is testing AI-based depth mapping on Instagram photos. It adds a slight 3D effect to standard feed posts when viewed in VR. It's subtle, sometimes glitchy, but it finally gives some value to using Instagram on the headset over your phone. So I applauded, I guess. I don't know, I still don't really see the huge push for using 2D apps in VR when it's easier and more comfortable to use on a phone. Next, we need to talk about the bad. And well, there's actually not that much bad. For the most part, what the new OS tries to accomplish, it does pretty well. However, I still think it drops the ball in a few places. The navigator doesn't yet handle everything. For example, core settings still open in their own 2D window, which breaks the flow. If navigator is supposed to be the OS layer, it should include all system level controls with no exceptions. Right now, it feels like we're stuck in a halfway point between two interfacing philosophies. There's also redundancy in how controls are accessed. You'll find both digital buttons on screen and physical controller inputs doing the same exact thing. This isn't just clutter, it trains the user to expect visual UI for everything, when in reality, gestures and buttons are the true default. Having on-screen buttons increases updating friction and design overhauls, which at the current state of updates feels like being in a pinball machine with how frequently they're changing and moving everything around. Additionally, some UI interactions like scrolling don't have visual indicators at all. You're just supposed to know that you swipe or use the joystick. That inconsistency forces users to constantly switch between physical habits and on-screen cues, leading to confusion and friction, especially with different generations. For this next part of the video, I want to talk about the things I believe are still missing from Horizon OS. Along with features, I'm also going to talk about some of the broader design principles I think would benefit the user experience long term. Let me know if you agree with these next ideas and leave some of your own in the comments. For starters, I have to talk about the one thing that has pained me the most switching from Samsung to iOS, that being the lack of a single unified back button. For a layered system like what we have now with Horizon OS, that's a big problem. Imagine you open a 2D app like Xbox Cloud, then go ahead and open the navigator, browse your library, open quick settings, then dive deeper into settings. There's no consistent way to reverse that chain of steps. A proper back button would reverse the actions within the current layer, then close out of that layer entirely when there's no history left. With this example, that would mean going from the settings to quick settings, then back to the navigator home screen, then closing the navigator before taking you back into the Xbox window. The hope is this back button wouldn't be visually anywhere, as it would need to span all three layers. Instead, it should be a physical button on the controller or a gesture you do with your hands. This global system only works though if all of the layers are clearly separated, otherwise you'll end up bouncing back and forth all between the navigator and 2D Windows layer. In immersive apps, it makes sense to hide the clock or battery to avoid distractions, but in the 2D window layer, I should be able to glance down and see the time, battery level, Wi-Fi strength, etc. A floating info panel, customizable and optional, could solve this very easily. Think of it more like a minimal quick settings window that auto opens within the 2D layer. It could hover like the QuickTime controls icons, or it could be a movable window all on its own. The window can be closed out of at any time manually, but anytime the 2D layer is opened for the first time, this window would open up as well, kind of like a default. Right now, the Quest is still missing a critical component, that being personalization. The first generation to be using these things in mass is going to be Gen Alpha. The vast majority of people I know who own a Quest, they're not using it daily. Most of them aren't even using it monthly. The ones who do use it daily, they're usually under 15, spending time in Gorilla Tag or Rec Room. And here's the thing, they're not even quote unquote playing the game most of the time. They're just hanging out, using it as a third space. Gen Alpha was drawn to Gorilla Tag because it combined a quirky art style and a free-to-play model which specifically targets the young demographic. This explosion led to kids finding a sense of community within the app. And then another axiom was very quick, adding personalization that was wildly eccentric. Nothing was too out there or off limits, and that allowed these kids to fully express themselves however they wanted. And when I say out there, I mean it. I ran into a kid who was pretending to be a duck. He spent 30 minutes literally just quacking at me and showing me his cool toys. Similarly, Rec Room allows players to express themselves with a wide variety of cosmetics, but what Rec Room does so incredibly well is allowing each person to have their own customizable room, bringing a sense of home to house their digital selves. I think at the fundamental OS layer, Meta needs to tap into all of this and start building the bond between Horizon OS and the next generation. Although specific data is hard to come by given it's challenging to collect, it's bright as day that whatever operating system you grow up using, you're more likely to use as an adult, not only out of loyalty, but also just out of comfort, which is why it's important to captivate the younger generation now. That way XR as a whole has legs to stand on when the physical technology is ready for mass adoption. I think the things that Horizon OS needs to start with is first, add a full UI customization. Accent colors, themes, iconography. Let me be the one who can update the navigator cloud. Let me theme my app icons and set up my home screen exactly how I want it to be. Next, I want a better home environment system. Ditch the stock presets and let us make something personal. I think the current environments are beautiful. I absolutely love some of them. But if someone else can have the exact same one as me, then it'll never be my virtual home. Then lastly, the avatar rework. Everything just needs to go. Current Horizon avatars are soulless. It's not the visuals that fail, although those aren't spectacular, it's the lack of expressive options. The more primitive, low-fidelity Mii system for the Wii was more personal than what Horizons offers now. And that was 15 years ago. That's because it started with a blank slate, putting each decision completely and fully in the user's hands. It might not have had the same number of options or pixels for that matter, but each and every choice was the user's to make. Horizon starts by forcing you to choose from a template that already looks like someone else. From that moment on, you're just altering someone else to look more like you, not making you. Even if face scanning comes in the future, that's still not identity, that's replication. Users should be able to create digital personas that reflect who they are or who they want to be. That identity should come from a mix of limitations and freedom. Limiting the user's choices forces them to take their own vision and play within the bounds of the system to bring it to life, forcing a bit of their own personality into their digital creation. It's in that creative space that people truly form the connection with their digital personas. For instance, take a game like Fortnite. When new kits first come out, people use them all together, but over time, people build their own kits from various unique pieces, interchanging backblings and emotes and gliders, not because the game told them to, but because the system gave them space to express and make something of their own. When my little cousin's limited because he doesn't have unlimited V-Bucks, he takes what he can get his hands on and makes what he thinks looks the best to him given the space and limited resources he's given. I think there's a lot to be said about playing into the weird, letting people be expressive and letting them be personal. Just like my little cousin, all of my friends' younger siblings and the kids I run to online love to brag about how they've made their character and how they've customized their digital homes. They like when things are theirs. Stepping back from the very obscure realm of personalization and customization for a bit, practical personalization also goes a very long way. Menus and quick settings should have defaults that can be adjusted. Icon sizes and spacings should be alterable, and gestures and controller buttons should have the option for micro-type actions based on what the user most often needs. Just the other day, my friend got a brand new car, and one of the buttons was actually completely customizable. Not one of the digital buttons, a physical button was customizable. We went through the settings and set up that button to change his exhaust into track mode, and the smile that lit up on his face, just from that one small thing in his huge brand new car, that is the thing that made him feel like the car was his. But in general, these are just small quality of life improvements that I think would make me more apt to choose my Quest over something else potentially coming in the future. So that's Horizon OS v77. It's a major update. The navigator adds new structure, the OS is faster, more responsive, and in some ways finally feels like it was designed for this mixed reality between immersive and 2D and flat and everything in between. But there are still gaps, mostly around consistency, integration, and the use of space. I also think we need a lot more personalization to finally make the headset feel like our own. There was a lot I couldn't get into in this video. It's already so long. So if you want to dig into the full patch notes, those are linked down in the description below. While you're down there, let me know what you thought of this video, what you think of the update as a whole, and what you want to see in the future. I've had a chance to talk with a few folks over at Meta working on these features, and I know they're listening. So if you've got ideas that you'd like me to pass along, let me know. And thanks for watching. Leave a like if you're enjoying the update, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace out, everybody. Bye.